Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Ezabo Baron. I'm,
Sir,
oh,
Excuse me, sir.
excuse me, we are having some introduction about yourself. Please wait a minute, sir.
So
Charu, you
okay.
can
Charulata
Thank you.
will she'll be introducing you to the participants, sir, and then you can start your session.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Charu,
Sir?
Yes. Yes.
yeah, you can start, Charu.
Yes, sir. Good evening to one and all present here for the IEEE International Webinar Series SAVANT 3. I am Charulata, IEEE Student Vice Chairperson of Antenna and Propagation Society from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. On behalf of St. Joseph Institute of Technology, I am here to volunteer for today's session. Now, I would like to extend my first and foremost gratitude to our Honorable Chairman, Sir, Dr. B. Babu Manoharan, our Managing Director, Ms. B. Jessipriya Ma'am, and our Director, Sir, Mr. Sasi Shekhar, and our beloved Principal, Dr. B. Ravichandran, Sir, for giving this opportunity to conduct the webinar. I would also like to extend my gratitude to our Head of the Department, Dr. C. Nyanakosalya Ma'am, Staff and Student Affairs, and Dr. G. Rohini Ma'am, Lab Affairs, for their ceaseless support. Now, I will be sharing a few words about our speaker. Mr.EZABO Baron is the chair of the IEEE Uganda section and co-founder of the WOXSAN City project, the world's first artificial intelligence-powered virtual trade city. He serves as the coordinator for AI neural network system in the project and former robotics research coordinator at Nakaba Vocational Training College. It is a college under the Ministry of Education and Sports, Uganda. He was responsible for leading a team of innovators from the institute to the annual East Africa Robotics Challenge Cup held in Nairobi. It is an initiative of Japan International Cooperation Agency. He is also a volunteer outreach coordinator for the IEEE Photonic Society in Uganda and Dark Size Africa volunteer for United States National Science Foundation's Optical Infrared Astronomy Research Laboratory in Uganda. Before we start the session, I would like to say a few instructions to be followed by the participants. Kindly post your questions in the chat box. There would be a question answer session at the end of the webinar. The attendance link will be posted at the end of today's webinar. Now, I invite our speaker of the day to kindly start the session.
Thank you so much. As it is a very interesting introduction about me and all has been said about me. Um, I'm going to start the presentation. It's about artificial intelligence, a field which has become famous of recent. I don't think it has been famous for a long period. I just got to know about it in 2017 when I was still in robotics. It's that time when Japanese used to introduce us to neural networks and computer vision. That's when I picked interest in it. Then when I started participating in the IEEE Photonic Society Lab Automation Hackathon by Nokia Bell Labs in the United States in 2018 and 2019, I got access to hands-on artificial intelligence and machine learning for lab automation, particularly optical lab automation. I did my research. As you know, this is quite a new field. It had to be a personal research that I did until I developed the skills that build up on what I studied, what I learned from IEEE Photonics Lab Automation Hackathons in the US by Nokia Bell Labs and the Japanese robotics experts in Nairobi in 2017. Today, I want to take this short opportunity to share with you this field of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, which started quite way back, is mostly involved of machine learning. and the computer vision, natural language processing. So what is the artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is simply making computers to think like humans, to program computers in such a way that they imitate human reasoning. So as you can see here, it's an autonomous way of making computers to think like humans and make decisions, learn the way humans, learn from humans and make decisions like the way humans make the decisions. So as you can see on the presentation slides, so for anything to be called artificial intelligence, it's a system that we program to think like a human, to reason like a human, to act like humans, and to perform rational activities like humans. So within a artificial intelligence ecosystem, there is a thought, thinking like humans, acting like humans, doing rational activities like humans. Also behaving like humans. We have seen robots like Sophia, which are trying to imitate human character. So human behaviors, robots can imitate that if they have artificial intelligence built into it. So how do systems act like humans? We have heard of the chatbots, which have been in trends these days. We have a number of artificial intelligence chatbots, which are helping to mediate customer relationships in e-commerce shopping systems, also in online e-learning campuses. Universities are deploying chatbots to respond to students' queries. If, for example, in large systems like Coursera, most times when students want to inquire about certain information, study information in Coursera platform, there is a chatbot built within the Coursera system that the student interacts with that chatbot until that there is a point when the student wants to interface with a human. That's when the chatbot lets the student connects to the human system. We also have Google Translate, whereby you can now use your phone to search through Google search engine just by saying few words. The Google search engine is able to display for you search results. So that uses a field of artificial intelligence called natural language processing to query through the data, to retrieve information from Google search engine and all that. We also have artificial intelligence also has a machine learning, which is the key algorithm that drives artificial intelligence system. For you to build an artificial intelligence system, there is always machine learning. Machine learning is the algorithm behind the artificial intelligence system that powers the system. So the system can behave like humans. It has also a way to act like humans. If it can also, if it doesn't act like human, then it does not fit to be an artificial intelligence system. What are the core building blocks of an artificial intelligence system. Behind an artificial intelligence system, there is always what they call an algorithm, which comes from a computer science field called data structures, which is a series of mathematical algorithms, particularly logics and the probability, mean that for anyone who intends to create a solution in artificial intelligence, there is that need for them to know computational logics and probability, which is the core building block of an artificial intelligence system, and also the theory of combinations. So an artificial intelligence system is basically dependent on mathematical algorithms developed from computational logics and probability. So for startups, for students who are planning to venture into this field of artificial intelligence, usually the core thing is to have a good understanding of an algebraic mathematics, calculus, linear algebra. Sometimes we have probability and statistics. These are the core building blocks of artificial intelligence system. Besides those mathematical computations, usually we also have to be good at programming. Programming languages that we usually focus in the artificial intelligence include Python, Python, which has become the most predominant of recent. Some people use R and the R programming language, Java programming language, but the most popular, which everyone tries to use around, is Python. Why Python? Python is a simple language that anyone can learn. Once you learn the core Python, what they call Python data structures, you're able to get into the machine learning and artificial intelligence libraries. The most famous, which people usually use, are the likes of NumPy library, Pandas. We have Keras, TensorFlow for computer vision. So when the students who are in research, who are interested in getting to artificial intelligence, they need to have a good foundation of mathematics, which is, to me, the first thing. The first thing you should get into, being good at mathematics. Many people get into artificial intelligence when they really don't take mathematics to be something very important, especially people coming from other fields where mathematics is not their primary major. You realize that they have learned from friends that, artificial intelligence is the next big thing. So you need to get into this field. And someone said, no, I don't know mathematics. Then the other one tell him, no, mathematics is not the core thing in artificial intelligence. So you find that when these guys who do not understand good fields of mathematics, they have challenges figuring out algorithms. But if you had a good background in mathematics, it will be a walkway for you. So in that case, before we come to core presentations of this, I will emphasize that a good foundation of artificial intelligence system is mathematics. It should be the first thing in a researcher's or innovator's mind, that when I am thinking about getting into the field of artificial intelligence, which is becoming very profitable, I must be good at mathematics. Of course, mathematics is a worldwide field. What exactly are you doing in mathematics to become a good person in artificial intelligence? I mentioned that it is foundation of algebra. Algebra is an important field because algebra allows you to understand mathematics from the foundation level. If you know algebra and any calculus, being extremely good in calculus, being good at the linear algebra, Linear algebra is actually the core application of artificial intelligence. When you're manipulating data, you deal a lot with the linear algebra. So linear algebra is very important. During my course of research, I also found for understanding purpose like things of neural networks, I also found out that someone who is good at discrete mathematics, will find it very easy to understand fields of neural networks, which are one of the core algorithms powering artificial intelligence systems, usually under deep learning and machine learning. We also have to encourage people to be very good in statistics and probability. When you are good at statistics and probability, it will be easier for you to understand topics such as linear regressions, and logistics regressions and so forth. So for those startups who are getting much interested in the artificial intelligence field, I really emphasize that begin off with the good mathematics. Learn as much as you can in mathematics. Then be good at computer programming. Computer programming, I don't want to say there's a specific language you should stick to. I'm going to highlight a number of languages that are very important. I will start from the front end. From the front end, these are at user interface level. Then I go deep into the back end. Front end, you definitely know the likes of HTML, cascading style sheets, Bootstrap. JavaScript is one of the core languages which is very powerful in application development, front end. Of course, JavaScript cuts across, but particularly if you're going to use JavaScript, you'll need to learn JavaScript frameworks like React.js. React.js is very good in integrating the front end system of artificial intelligence applications. React.js was developed by Facebook, so it's very famous these days when you're building what they call full stack applications. JavaScript is very important. Then when we go into back end, you could decide to use a single language in back end, maybe say Python. Python, when you're getting to using Python for artificial intelligence, there are two ways you can break Python. One is structured Python, then the other one is Python libraries. A basic Python language is just a structured Python. So that one alone does not make you develop a successful artificial intelligence program. What you need to do after learning a basic Python programming language is to now begin to learn machine learning and artificial intelligence libraries. There are quite very many of these libraries. But usually the first libraries that we begin with is NumPy library for structuring data. Then we have Pandas library. We have Keras library. Then TensorFlow. These are basically for starter people who are getting into this field, getting to understand these four libraries. Very important. Keras, TensorFlow, NumPy, Pandas is very, very, very important. Once now you're able to work with basic data, being able to capture that basic data, raw data, cleaning it, training the models using these libraries, then you are able to move into fields like libraries for natural language processing, computer vision using OpenCVS. You can go on to advance many of these libraries. So also, besides basic Python language and the Python machine learning and artificial intelligence libraries, you need to be very good in in translating your models. For example, many people who have learned machine learning, who have trained their models, they are not able to use their models. So how do you use machine learning and artificial intelligence models in your application? The core thing that we use is called data serialization. Usually we use a framework called JobLink. JobLib is when you are able to translate your artificial intelligence models and save them in such a way that you can use them in form of an API. Meaning that for you to be able to train these models and translate them into an API that you can use into anything, any other application, you must know JSON JavaScript framework called JSON. This is a JavaScript framework. Some people use XML's extensible markup language, but JSON seems to be the most famous that people use. So JavaScript is very important, and JavaScript frameworks. So meaning that you use Python, basic Python and Python frameworks like NumPy, Pandas, Keras, TensorFlow, maybe natural language processing frameworks. Then after training your models, you save them using a Python framework called JobLib. JobLib allows you to convert the models into a JSON format, JavaScript format. Now that becomes an API, application programming interface, which now you are able to choose any language, be it PHP, JavaScript, to build a full-fledged application out of the API you've saved from the trained models. I want to share with you, like, because these are things that most people who get into artificial intelligence don't get clear. They train models, they play with data models, but at the end of the day, they are not able to use them. So make sure you train a model, you then save them using JobLib into an API, JSON API. Usually the key term we use is data serialization. You serialize the data, then you're able to use it in your applications. Meaning that if you train the model for a desktop application, you can now, after creating the API using the JobLib, you're able to use that API to interface with an Android application, whereby now you have, like you see Facebook mobile, exchanges data with Facebook web. So they have common user database that they keep on exchanging same passwords, same usernames, same data across. And you can also share your API with other developers, so they can play with your data sets. That's a very important part when you're getting to the field of artificial intelligence. I know artificial intelligence is wide. There are people who work in robotics, building embedded systems. I'm not getting deep into embedded systems. I'm focusing much in data models, training them, and being able to use them across. Another thing that Python, for example, is a wide programming language within the scope of artificial intelligence. One, it acts as a structured platform for building up the data training models. Once you've developed the training models using Python, you're able to save them into JSON format using JobLib. Once you save them using JobLib, now you need to build an application which either desktop, either a web application or mobile application to use that data. What we usually do is we use Python frameworks. There are basically two frameworks for Python. One is the Django framework and the other one is Python Flask. Python Flask is, these two frameworks are very important in building up an artificial intelligence or machine learning application. So which one do you go with? We have Python Flask, we have Django. Now the question is, which one do you go with? Depending on what you're working on. Usually for starters, you start with Python Flask. The models which you trained and you extracted into JSON format using joblib, now you are able to use Python Flask framework to integrate them and build up a full-fledged application that users can interact with. If you are building a small application, but if you are building a large enterprise application, you may opt to use Django framework, Python Django framework. These are common frameworks that app developers use in working with the Python environment. Now, we also have Java. Java is also a famous machine learning and artificial intelligence programming language, similar to Python. Java, on my side, I enjoy using it mostly for building the mobile application using, let's say, Android Studio, frameworks like Android Studio. So once you trained your models using Python and converted them using joblib into JSON format, JSON API format, you are free now to choose any language. Let's say you are able to use those APIs in Android Studio to build a mobile application which consumes the data that you've built. So these are what I can tell you. Now we look at the hosting and the artificial intelligence application. Usually you can build your own database. I mean like your own server. You buy a dedicated web server and then you install in the server softwares. Most common softwares that you use is called Nginx server. With Nginx server, you're able to install various artificial intelligence and machine learning libraries. Then you upload your trained models, and the end your application is hosted in the cloud. But due to so many reasons and speed, security, and all that workloads, people are opting for cloud services. Cloud services like Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services. So once you have trained your models, you may just opt to buy an Amazon Cloud server and host it in Amazon Cloud. That's where I can say that anyone who is getting into the field of artificial intelligence, in order to summarize that area of AI foundation and all that, beginning with a good understanding of mathematics, get into programming languages, particularly I can say both Java and Python. Some people also enjoy C and C++ in case you are not good in it. When you are not good in programming languages, then try to go deep into Python and Java, how you can make a good use of it in artificial intelligence. Then we look at hosting your AI applications in the cloud. using Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. You choose one of them, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services. I am not recommending any, but people say that most famous is Amazon Web Services. So that's where most developers are getting into, Amazon Web Services. Now let's look at what you can do with an AI system. What can you do when you decide to venture into artificial intelligence? With artificial intelligence, you can perform data analytics, what we usually call big data. In corporate world, we are collecting a lot of data. Universities are collecting a lot of data regarding students, information in hospitals, patient records, medical diagnosis information, and all that. We also have what they call computer vision, which you can use in large-scale CCTV cameras, in satellite control systems, in surveillance. We have drones which should fly autonomously without human control. In playing games, in analyzing and treating human diseases like cancer, and also in coronavirus, artificial intelligence has been used to analyze COVID-19 trends, spread trends across the world. In finance now, like we are getting to the era of fintech, financial technologies. Banks are going to depend so much on digitalization, mobile money, banking, online banking. AI is going to be widely applied in these fields, in autonomous planning, using satellites, using drones, in telescopes. AI is used to analyze stars, different planets. So in medicine, AI is used in medical imaging, what they call medical microscopy, whereby AI can be used by clinicians to analyze different physiological parameters of human body system and predict diseases. It's also used in guided surgeries by doctors. When you use AI in this kind of fields, in imaging, this is what we usually call computer vision. Computer visions apply a variety of devices to collect the data. It can be microscopes, CCTV cameras, webcams, and many other cameras. It's also being used in virtual reality and augmented reality. In order for you to be able to build up applications involving computer vision, you need to understand you need to understand computer vision libraries. The most famous is the OpenCVS, TensorFlow. You need to understand TensorFlow framework, among others. It's also used in autonomous vehicles, which is becoming famous in some countries. Autonomous vehicles are becoming famous in some countries, like you've heard of Google self-driving cars, the Tesla self-driving cars. We also have hybrid aeroplanes that can move both on land, on sea, and in the space. Most of them are self-driven. AI is also used in pedestrians safety detection, like vehicles with the computer vision cameras can detect passengers that are moving and of course trigger either the speed reduction or the stopping of the car. In the game, AI systems are playing games with humans. So you can sit down and play AI powered games such as chess, people playing chess using AI. Long time you needed to get some other partner to play games with, but today we are able to play games with AI. Also in robotics, for assisting humans at home, maybe elderly humans, we have had the Amazon Alexa, the Alexa robot, which is being used in homes to control home appliances. By using audio, you say, Alexa, switch off the lights. Alexa, turn off the fridge. Alexa, yes. So with those few, I can say that AI has a big future. After this COVID-19 or before COVID-19, AI has a very big future. We encourage you to get into the field of AI. And of course, develop a good AI foundation skills in mathematics, computer programming, and the application development. With those few, I can say that AI has a big future. Thank you.
So, shall we move on to the question answer session?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Starting from the first question, what is the probability to measure AI?
The probability to
Measure AI.
I have not get the probability to measure AI.
So, like the question, the meaning is they are asking about the algorithms, how to calculate the error and accuracy in AI.
Okay, the probability depends on the data. Usually, when you are training the models, you need to have a large data set that you can experiment with. The more experimental data sets you have, the more accurate the accuracy of the algorithm. The fewer the data sets, the less accurate the model is. So usually when you're building up an AI system, you need to have large data sets in order to get a much precise algorithm, accuracy.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. Are there any methods to eradicate biasing?
Of course, if you're looking at the biasness, even in normal statistical applications, when people go into the field to collect data, the biasness can be basing on focusing only on known sources. Let me say you know people whom you are collecting data from, so you conclude your decision basing on that. So in order to avoid biasness in AI, there must be the data source, the sources of the data must be extremely accurate in order to minimize biasness.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. How can AI help in COVID situations?
AI can, first of all, there are wide applications in AI in analyzing how fast the COVID virus is spreading in certain geographical area, or how slow, or whether it's increasing or reducing. And also it also can be used to analyze the future of an economy of a country. You know, like in developing countries, we keep saying the economy is doing bad. If we use the AI to predict whether it's doing bad or not, it will be quite better, and also to determine how the future will be. So AI is used in various areas. Also in analyzing, like in some countries, let's say Uganda or probably India, when when communities visit public places like shopping malls, banks, I mean, bus parks and all that, they always check our temperature. If this data is collected from different sources and analyzed using AI algorithms, it's very quite easy to predict. Of course, the temperature is an important parameter of COVID-19, so it will be easier to predict what's the future about the spread of the disease, whether it is deteriorating or it's increasing.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. What is the difference between strong AI and weak AI?
Strong AI. I've not done much research in this.
Okay, sir, no problem. Moving on to the next question. What are the applications of AI in medicinal field?
In medicinal fields, as we said, you know, uh, before medical personnel like doctors decide on treating any human body, usually there is what they call physiological parameters the doctors need to know. One of them is the person's temperature, um, the breathing, the heartbeat rates, um, the age. I mean, all that physiological parameter that physicians usually collect from patients. This can be automated, as you have seen in COVID-19. We are using temperature sensors to monitor the human temperature. So once this data is being fed into an AI algorithm, sorry for that background noise,
No problem, sir.
the doctors are able to recommend treatments for the patients. We have seen in what they call telemedicine. We are having wearable devices that patients are being recommended to put on, so that these physiological parameters are collected from the patients, and then the doctor sits and analyzes. Before that, doctors only looked at, some just touched the patient's part which is feeling, let me say, hot. But now we have temperature sensors, we have mobile microscopes that can collect images, let me say, test images in laboratories. These images in medical laboratories by lab technicians have always been manually analyzed by physicians. Sometimes these physicians have human limits in predicting what disease this person is suffering from, but using an AI computer image algorithm, we are able to predict unknown diseases beyond human reasoning. So AI has a wide application in the medical fields.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for answering all the questions promptly. Now it's time to express my gratitude to all on behalf of EC Department, St. Joseph Institute of Technology, St. Joseph's Group of Institution. First and foremost, I thank our guest speaker, Mr.EZABO Baron, co-founder of WOXSAN City Project, Uganda, for his inspiring speech on artificial intelligence. Thank you, sir, for finding time and giving information on very new technologies despite your busy schedule.
Thank you so much.
Next, I would like to extend my thanks to our beloved chairman, sir, Dr. B. Babu Manoran, for his consistent upkeep in conduction of this webinar. My sincere thanks to our managing director, ma'am, Ms. B. Jessipriya, and our director, sir, Mr. B. Sasi Shekhar, for their guidance in conduction of the webinar. I would like to express my gratitude to our principal sir, Dr. P. Ravichandran, for his support to conduct this webinar. I also thank our head of the department and IEEE chapter advisor, Dr. C. Nyanakosalya ma'am, staff and student affairs, and Dr. G. Rohini ma'am, IEEE coordinator, head of lab affairs, for their words of encouragement and guidance. Also, I take this opportunity to thank the entire fraternity of St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, St. Joseph's Group of Institution for making this event memorable success. Finally, I thank all the students, faculties, research scholars from India and other countries for their active participation in this webinar. Our next webinar is by an eminent speaker, Ms.PATTY Rowland, who will be giving an interesting talk on winning strategies for women in STEM on July 20 at 6 p.m. Interested participants can register in the same link and attend the session. Thank you all.